The elders of Yulan city controlled countless formations and struggled to hold back the invading armies advancing from every direction. They soon realized the nearest force was about to reach the city's core. That army alone contained more than 800 Divine Emperor perfection-level low-level primordial lives and over 12,000 late-stage Divine Emperor-level troops. A force they believed neither their formations nor Luo Feng could stop. Since each Divine Emperor perfection low-level primordial life possessed strength comparable to a palace master without a weapon secret treasure. The army was effectively equivalent to more than 800 palace masters and 12,000 elders attacking together. Although the elders knew their avatars might die, they remained determined because they believed ultimate victory would belong to the cultivators once Luo Feng completed engraving his formation. They expected his completed array to surpass the combined power of all the elders and drive back the invading armies. Though they feared many cultivators inside the city would perish before then. Even if more than half the city's population survived, they would already consider it fortunate. Having done everything possible, the elders calmly accepted that even if their avatars were destroyed, most of their resources in Yulan city would remain safe if the cultivators ultimately prevailed. Inside Luo Feng's cave mansion in the core area, Emperor Cheng, Emperor Meng, and Di Fu observed Luo Feng's numerous incarnations defending the city while simultaneously suppressing the approaching enemies. Emperor Cheng was astonished that Luo Feng had first killed a super limit level enemy and was now suppressing 4 super limit level entities alone. Since super limit entities represented the strongest low-level primordial lives, Luo Feng's performance convinced Emperor Cheng that even the far more dangerous Dark Sacred Realm would pose little threat to him. Emperor Cheng believed Luo Feng had already reached the highest level even within the Dark Sacred Realm and was far stronger than the 2 ancestors, who would not survive even a single move against him. He admired Luo Feng's astonishing progress from eternal true god to one of the strongest experts in the land of origin within only 8,000 eras and was amazed that someone he had only occasionally cooperated with had now become the city lord of Yulan city. Emperor Ming speculated that Luo Feng might even one day break free from the braided cage and become a true primordial life. Di Fu was excited by the possibility of having such a powerful friend. Though Emperor Qing reminded them that escaping the braided cage remained an almost legendary achievement, even in the Dark Sacred Realm. While the 3 remained calm because Emperor Qing and Di Fu possessed avatars and Emperor Ming had regained hope, many cultivators throughout the core area grew increasingly anxious. Most were mid-stage Divine Emperor enlightened cultivators or even stronger experts with true bodies, unwilling to surrender their lives after cultivating for so long. Although many prayed that Luo Feng could stop the approaching army, others believed the overwhelming invasion force would eventually break through and watched death draw closer. Meanwhile, the low-level primordial life army advanced rapidly, each creature eager to destroy the Elder Cave mansions, break through Yulan city's final defenses, and massacre the cultivators. The 4 super-limit entities battling Luo Feng also became increasingly excited because they believed the massive armies would soon force Luo Feng to divide his attention. Once Luo Feng had to repel the armies, whose destructive capability greatly exceeded that of the 4 super-limit enemies. They expected the battle to turn in their favor. Suddenly, the entire sky above Yulan city became brilliantly illuminated. The gloomy weather disappeared, the rain mist vanished, and the heavens transformed into a vast blue sky filled with boundless vitality. At the same time, the ground became completely black, resembling endless darkness spreading beneath the city. Blue sky and black earth stretched together across the entire city. The invading armies immediately sensed something was wrong. Their vitality rapidly drained away, and within only a few breaths many became powerless and collapsed dead without any visible injuries. Although they had previously relied on combined defensive barriers to resist the Elders' formations, they now watched companions fall one after another despite sensing no direct attack. The black and blue mist soon descended from the sky and rose from the earth, enveloping the 4 invading armies as well as the entire city, including every cave mansion and every cultivator. The cultivators felt no danger from the mist, but the low-level primordial lives immediately recognized its terrifying power. Their defensive barriers were quickly corroded by the mist, which penetrated weak points almost instantly, invaded their bodies, contaminated their life cores, and shattered them with minimal contact. Numerous weak points appeared throughout the army's defenses, causing many more low-level primordial lives to collapse dead. The armies desperately strengthened their defensive barriers without regard for energy consumption, attempting to eliminate every weakness. Yet weaker individuals continued dying silently. They realized invisible causality curse attacks were killing them even through their energy barriers. Every death created additional weak points, allowing even more black and blue mist to enter and accelerate the destruction. The four armies fought desperately but lacked sufficient mastery of formations to counter Luo Feng's array. Under the combined internal and external attacks of the formation, the mist continually broke through vulnerable points and caused mounting casualties. Luo Feng finally felt completely relieved after successfully engraving the formation into Yulan city. Unlike ordinary cultivators in the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm, who constantly suffered suppression from heaven and earth, the completed city formation removed that suppression and instead empowered cultivators through the city's energy. As city lord, Luo Feng could mobilize that energy more effectively than anyone else. Using various life and death Dao techniques, he silently eliminated countless low-level primordial lives. The four super-limit entities immediately understood the situation had completely changed. They realized Luo Feng had successfully completed a formation more powerful than the combined formations of all the elders. Such an array could only be created by someone who had mastered two half-primordial level paths. An achievement so rare that virtually no fusion Dao cultivator in the late-stage Divine Emperor realm could be found throughout the Dark Sacred Realm. They were shocked that Luo Feng had completed such an overwhelming formation far faster than anyone had anticipated. Even the seemingly simplest layer of his formation rivaled the great arrays created by Yuan Shang Palace Master and similar experts. Panic spread throughout the four invading armies. Their commanders reported that invisible causal attacks continuously killed their forces, while the black and blue mist constantly eroded them and exhausted their energy. Unlike the cultivators, who continuously received energy from Yulan City, the low-level primordial lives could no longer absorb any energy under Luo Feng's formation. As they weakened steadily with no possibility of recovery, the four super-limit entities finally admitted defeat. They understood that continued resistance would only allow Luo Feng and nearly 200 elders to trap and destroy them completely. The commanders therefore ordered all four armies to abandon the battle and flee separately in every direction. They believed that any force capable of escaping beyond Yulan City's boundaries might still survive. During their retreat, they were instructed to slaughter as many cultivators as possible, since killing enough cultivators could still allow them to transform further and evolve. Even without obtaining true freedom, the four super-limit level experts realized that if their armies only focused on escaping, Luo Feng would use the heaven and earth array to isolate and eliminate them one by one. Even 4 against 1, they were already at a disadvantage. And with the formation supporting Luo Feng, they could not survive for long. To force Luo Feng to divide his attention, they secretly guided their armies to slaughter the city's cultivators while retreating. Knowing the army's destructive power far exceeded their own and would compel Luo Feng to protect the civilians instead. The Divine Emperor Perfection leaders of the four armies quickly reached the same conclusion. They had wanted to slaughter from the moment they entered Yulan City but had previously obeyed the king's orders to attack the core area first. Now that defeat was inevitable. They believed slaughtering cultivators while retreating offered their only hope of regaining freedom or advancing their bloodlines. Even though it would reduce their retreat speed by 30 to 40% and result in heavy casualties. Within a single breath, every leader agreed to retreat while massacring the city's inhabitants. The four armies immediately fled toward the outskirts along the shortest routes. As they descended to lower altitudes, they unleashed massive attacks of thunder, flames, black wind, curses, poison, and other destructive forces. Although the cyan-black mist of Luo Feng's heaven and earth array blocked part of the attacks, the armies concentrated enough power to break through it, allowing devastating attacks to rain upon countless cave mansions below. The cultivators inside the city watched in despair as the attacks descended. Many accepted death calmly. One middle-aged cultivator named Kang Yu reflected that throughout his long cultivation journey, from an insignificant being in a weak world to traveling across countless worlds in pursuit of the great Tao, he had never regretted his path. Smiling until his final moment, he was reduced to dust along with countless other cultivators as the overwhelming attacks destroyed numerous cave mansions. As the four armies continued retreating, they simultaneously slaughtered everyone in their path, cutting off every possible escape route. The legendary cultivators of the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm fell one after another, demonstrating that even the strongest individuals remained powerless before overwhelming catastrophes such as world destruction. Sacred Realm Annihilation, or invading primordial life armies. The elders controlling the defensive formations watched in horror as the slaughter began. Luo Feng had anticipated this possibility the moment Yulan city fell. If the city's defenses had prevented the invading armies from entering, casualties would have been minimal. But now the low-level primordial life forces were massacring cultivators everywhere. Luo Feng immediately ordered nearly 200 elders to fully activate their formations alongside the heaven and earth array to suppress all four armies, forcing them to devote more power to defense and reducing their ability to continue the slaughter. Luo Feng's strongest avatar ignored the four super-limit-level opponents and charged directly toward the nearest army. Meanwhile, his 10 other avatars stationed in the core area advanced through the heaven and earth array to intercept the four super-limit-level experts. Although each ordinary avatar was individually weaker than a super-limit-level opponent, the support of the formation allowed the 10 avatars to entangle all four enemies. The four super-limit level immediately abandoned any thought of fighting and fled together, while Luo Feng deliberately avoided forcing them into a desperate battle that would only increase civilian casualties. The first army Luo Feng targeted consisted of over 600 Divine Emperor Perfection experts, more than 8,000 late-stage Divine Emperors, and numerous weaker primordial life forms. While resisting the Heaven and Earth Array and the Elders' formations, they continued allocating part of their strength to slaughtering cultivators. Suddenly, Luo Feng's enormous furry claw emerged from the cyan black mist, effortlessly piercing through multiple defensive layers and killing 19 Divine Emperor Perfection leaders and 126 late-stage Divine Emperors in a single strike. The army hurriedly strengthened its defenses. But Luo Feng's explosive power, enhanced by the formation, rivaled the combined attack of more than 100 Divine Emperor Perfection experts. Unable to detect Luo Feng's true location because his strongest avatar had merged into the endless blood sea and become one with the heaven and earth array, the army found themselves under relentless attacks from every direction. Massive claws repeatedly emerged from different positions within the mist, killing over 100 more soldiers each time. Panic spread throughout the army as they realized Luo Feng seemed to exist everywhere at once. Forced to abandon the slaughter completely, they concentrated solely on escaping while maintaining layered defensive formations. Luo Feng pursued relentlessly, striking several more times and ultimately killing more than 200 Divine Emperor Perfection experts and 1,500 late-stage Divine Emperors before stopping. Although he could have completely annihilated the army with the formation's support, he chose to leave because the remaining three armies were still massacring cultivators elsewhere in the city. He immediately shifted his strongest avatar toward another army, while the shattered first army, having lost roughly one-third of its forces, fled in terror without daring to provoke him again. Meanwhile, the four super-limit level experts successfully escaped beyond the range of the Heaven and Earth Array and the Elders' formations. The external armies that had originally surrounded Yulan city had already scattered after the defeat, leaving the escape route open. The four super-limit level believed their strategy had succeeded, since forcing the armies to slaughter civilians had compelled Luo Feng to prioritize protecting the city. They continued fleeing deeper into the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm, eventually separating and concealing their auras to improve their chances of escape. However, four Luo Feng avatars were already standing atop the city wall, each using the biomimetic destruction eye to track one fleeing super-limit level expert from a safe distance. Luo Feng had no intention of letting them escape permanently. Once he finished eliminating the armies inside Yulan city, he planned to hunt down the four super-limit level experts one by one. The first low-level primordial life army, already heavily damaged by Luo Feng, fled with all its strength, while the other three armies escaped while continuing to massacre cultivators, leaving countless cave mansions in ruins and killing everyone they encountered. The Nine Rivers Sacred Realm had been designed so that low-level primordial life forms greatly surpassed the cultivators in strength, forcing the cultivators to rely on city defenses. Once a city fell, slaughter became inevitable. Luo Feng coldly advanced toward the second army, the strongest of the four invading forces, consisting of over 800 Divine Emperor Perfection cultivators and more than 12,000 late-stage Divine Emperors. This army had suffered the lightest losses because of its overwhelming strength. Luo Feng dispersed the dark green fog, making it transparent so that all four armies could clearly observe one another. They immediately noticed that only the first army was fleeing at full speed, while the other three had slowed down to continue their massacres. The second army remained surrounded by the Heaven and Earth formation and the Elders formation when Luo Feng suddenly launched a surprise attack. A gigantic furry claw emerged from the void, pierced through the army's defensive layers at their weakest points, and instantly tore apart numerous low-level primordial life forms. Both late-stage Divine Emperors and Divine Emperor Perfection experts were killed upon contact. Their life cores shattered and their remains collected into the claw's internal space. Although the army managed to drive the claw back, they quickly discovered that 17 leader-level beings and 213 core clan members had been killed in a single strike. Unlike the Heaven and Earth formation, which mainly threatened core members, Luo Feng's claw slaughtered even the leaders in large numbers, causing widespread panic. The army could not locate Luo Feng's position, could not predict the claw's attacks, and could only barely repel the indestructible secret treasure despite possessing more than 800 Divine Emperor Perfection experts. Empowered by Luo Feng's undying heart, palm world, and techniques surpassing the ordinary late-stage Divine Emperor life and death Dao, the claw's attacks were far beyond anything these bloodline-dependent enemies could comprehend. The giant claw attacked repeatedly from unexpected directions, each strike killing more than 200 enemies, including over 10 leaders, supported by both the Heaven and Earth formation and the Elders formation. Luo Feng relentlessly massacred the army while they remained completely powerless to retaliate. Watching from afar through the transparent fog, the third and fourth armies became terrified. They realized that if the second army was destroyed, Luo Feng would inevitably target them next. Understanding that no army could survive Luo Feng's killing speed, they abandoned their plan to massacre cultivators during their escape and unanimously decided to flee with their full strength. Although some members had already killed enough cultivators to hope for future bloodline evolution, they understood that such rewards were meaningless if they died first. Both armies immediately stopped slaughtering and fled at maximum speed, astonishing the surviving cultivators, who realized that only Yulan City's strongest defender could have forced the invading armies to retreat. Luo Feng had intentionally made the fog transparent to frighten the remaining armies into fleeing rather than continuing their massacre. Although more low-level primordial life forms might escape as a result, far more cultivators would survive. With the third and fourth armies retreating, Luo Feng concentrated entirely on destroying the second army. However, the second army suddenly halted its retreat and threatened that if Luo Feng continued attacking, they would stop fleeing and instead massacre even more cultivators before their destruction, claiming they could still kill tens of millions. Recognizing that this threat was genuine because completely annihilating the army would require considerable time, Luo Feng withdrew his giant claw. The exhausted army believed they had successfully forced Luo Feng into a stalemate through mutual destruction. They promised to stop massacring cultivators if Luo Feng ceased his secret treasure attacks. Luo Feng agreed, allowing only the city's formation to continue suppressing them. The second army immediately resumed its escape, now reduced to just over 500 Divine Emperor Perfection experts and more than 7,000 late-stage Divine Emperors. All four armies then fled Yulan City without daring to continue their massacre. Luo Feng's avatars watched them from above while the elders acknowledged that Luo Feng possessed absolute power within the Nine Rivers sacred realm. As city lord, Luo Feng calculated that more than 16 million cultivators had died. Only a small number had perished during the early infiltration, while the overwhelming majority had been slaughtered during the army's retreat despite Luo Feng's efforts to suppress them. Filled with cold fury, Luo Feng silently questioned whether these invaders truly deserved to leave alive. Meanwhile, Luo Feng had nearly completed the second layer of the city's core formation. After breaking through to the late-stage Divine Emperor life and death Dao following the city's breach, he had completed the first layer just before the enemy armies reached the city's core. Their decision to massacre while retreating delayed their escape long enough for Luo Feng to finish the second layer as well. Once completed, the two layers merged into a unified formation. With a single thought, Luo Feng transformed Yulan City's original Heaven and Earth formation into a far more powerful Chaos Fog formation. The strengthened formation immediately engulfed the four armies, rapidly corroding their defenses while invisible attacks continuously killed their members. Every breath claimed dozens of lives. The armies discovered that the enhanced formation was so powerful that they could no longer threaten mutual destruction because all their strength was required simply to resist the formation. As casualties mounted, flaws constantly appeared in their defensive layers, allowing the chaos fog to penetrate deeper and accelerate the slaughter. The First Army, having begun its retreat earliest, barely managed to reach the city walls and escape despite suffering continuous losses. Once outside the city's formation, they rejoiced at surviving. Only slightly more than 300 Divine Emperor Perfection experts and over 4,000 late-stage Divine Emperors remained, meaning roughly half the army had survived. Outside the city, without the formation's support, Luo Feng could not directly confront an entire army. The surviving members of the First Army watched the remaining three armies still trapped within the chaos fog and quickly concluded that they would never escape. Without hesitation, the heavily damaged First Army fled from Yulan City, while the Second, Third, and Fourth Armies remained trapped inside. Unable to escape, the three low-level primordial life armies trapped inside Yulan City fell into complete despair under the city formation. Invisible curse killing wiped them out in batches. And once the chaos fog pierced their defenses, the casualties became even heavier. Unable to fight back, many low-level primordial lives begged Luo Feng for mercy, claiming they only wanted to survive. Luo Feng remained unmoved, having experienced countless racial wars since the primordial cosmos era. He was not affected by their pleas. He remembered the more than 16 million cultivators who had been slaughtered without any chance to resist and believed these innate primordial lives, though the weakest of their kind, could still massacre cultivators freely after forming armies. Cultivators were naturally weaker than innate primordial lives, and throughout the infinite primordial space, the cultivator camp relied on figures such as Senior Yuan and Senior Jin to resist them. Luo Feng acknowledged that he was still too weak, as even a high-level primordial life like the Yuan Shang Palace Master could severely contaminate him with a single glance. After collecting all the corpses from the three destroyed armies, he realized that despite the enormous harvest, his strength remained insufficient. The elders watched Luo Feng gather all the corpses without objection, recognizing that his control of the city formation far surpassed their combined abilities. Even if more than 1,000 elders worked together, they likely could not equal his mastery. Yulan City's formation system allowed a maximum of 1,000 formation layers, limiting the number of elders to slightly more than 900. Luo Feng estimated the immense value of the corpses and realized that, compared with truly powerful experts, the resources provided by serving as Yulan City's city lord were insignificant. Among the 35 cities of the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm, only the Yuan Shang Palace Master and two other experts had mastered a half-primordial level path, and those two only left avatars behind. The Yuan Shang Palace Master had accumulated enormous wealth by hunting super-limit level and Divine Emperor Perfection experts for countless years, making the city's resources trivial to him. Luo Feng also understood that the higher a cultivator's level, the greater their ability to acquire resources independently. After the battle ended, the city formations and chaos fog disappeared. The cultivators cautiously confirmed that the low-level primordial lives were gone. Luo Feng announced throughout the city that he was the new city lord of Yulan City, declared the danger over, and informed everyone that they could safely leave their cave mansions. The entire city celebrated its survival and victory. Many cultivators were surprised because Yulan City had never officially had a city lord before. The Yuan Shang Palace Master had long avoided the position due to severe soul pollution while secretly searching for a successor, which had fueled Wei Yang Palace Master's ambitions. The cultivators emerged from their cave mansions, grateful that such a devastating siege had resulted in unusually low casualties. Although they did not yet know Luo Feng's true strength, they appreciated that he had protected the vast majority of the city's population during the crisis. As life gradually returned to normal and the Elder Hall organized repairs, Luo Feng's strongest avatar quietly left the city. Earlier, he had secretly sent it to follow the four fleeing super-limit level enemies from a distance, intending to hunt them down one by one. Inside the Elder Hall, Luo Feng presided over the meeting as the new city lord while the Yuan Shang Palace Master sat beside him. The elders were highly satisfied with the victory. The insect nest master stepped forward, admitted that Luo Feng disliked cultivators like her, acknowledged her earlier offense, and emphasized that she had fulfilled her duty during the city's defense. She willingly surrendered all her resources within Yulan city and announced that she would permanently leave the Nine Rivers sacred realm before destroying all of her avatars. Luo Feng was surprised by her decisiveness. Although she had devoured countless souls and followed an evil cultivation path, she had defended the city faithfully, abandoned everything, and departed without hesitation. The Master of the Shadow Tower and the Master of Deceit Workshop followed her example, surrendering all their resources and permanently leaving the Nine Rivers sacred realm by destroying their avatars. They understood from Luo Feng's actions as Heaven Patrol Palace commander that he would never tolerate raiding organizations within Yulan city. The Yuan Shang Palace Master remarked that the Master of Deceit Workshop possessed considerable potential and believed that many cultivators became demons because of the harsh environments of their original worlds, arguing that such individuals should be tolerated. Luo Feng disagreed, saying that while he could not manage the entire world, Yulan city would have no place for raiding or stealing forces, since the Nine Rivers sacred realm did not force cultivators onto evil paths. He would eliminate or expel such organizations from his city. The elders realized that Luo Feng's authority would greatly exceed that of the previous three hall masters because he alone possessed enough strength to crush all opposition. Once Luo Feng made a decision, no elder could resist it, ensuring that raiding organizations would no longer survive in Yulan city. The Yuan Shang Palace Master praised Luo Feng's ambition but reminded him that individual strength remained limited. Even after breaking free from the braided cage, Luo Feng silently disagreed, believing that true limitations came only from insufficient cultivation. The Yuan Shang Palace Master then remembered that he had requested reinforcements from the Dark Sacred Realm. After making contact, he learned that the cultivation team had already entered the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm and was heading toward Yulan city. Expected to arrive in less than half a day, the emergence of a super limit level enchanting heartworm was considered an enormous threat. And Yuan Shang Palace Master explained that it was the main reason Yulan city had nearly fallen. Luo Feng agreed, believing that attacking the city from outside had little chance of success. While only a super limit level expert capable of stealth could infiltrate from within. The deaths of Wei Yang Palace Master and Gai Dao Palace Master had both been caused by the enchanting heartworm. Yuan Shang Palace Master said that a cultivator team would still travel to Yulan city to locate the worm through their causal connection and eliminate it quickly. Luo Feng replied that his avatar was already pursuing the worm and expected the task to be nearly complete. Yuan Shang Palace Master smiled. Knowing Luo Feng's strength made hunting the worm easy, but believed the team would still visit because they were even more interested in Luo Feng himself. The super limit level enchanting heartworm fled desperately across the vast world. All of its scattered subworms had already been destroyed by Luo Feng's avatar, leaving only the mother worm alive. It knew Luo Feng could teleport through space and that escape was impossible. The surviving low-level primordial life armies were unable to stop him. And the worm regretted that its only chance had been the surprise attack. As Luo Feng rapidly closed the distance, the worm stopped fleeing. Luo Feng's true avatar emerged from a rift in the sky. The worm asked whether this was Luo Feng's strongest avatar, and after receiving confirmation, begged for mercy, claiming it had only acted because terrifying cultivators had captured and forced it to serve them. Luo Feng remained expressionless, extending a finger that instantly pierced through space, transformed into a claw, penetrated the worm's body, and struck its life core. At the same time, the worm launched its innate secret technique, Enchanting Heart, attempting to confuse Luo Feng's mind and make him hesitate. However, Luo Feng's resolve never wavered, and the worm was killed without any opportunity to manipulate him. Luo Feng collected its corpse and reflected that compassion had its proper place. But showing mercy during a life and death conflict between cultivators and innate primordial life was foolish because the two factions sought each other's complete destruction. While examining the corpse, he discovered numerous spoils of war, including treasures likely taken from Wei Yang Palace Master and several elders. With the enchanting heartworm eliminated, he turned his attention to the remaining three super limit level enemies. Luo Feng's endless blood sea enveloped the gigantic black serpentine mountain creature. Although it begged for mercy, claiming it no longer threatened him, Luo Feng answered that actions had consequences. After repeated attempts, his giant claw finally located and shattered the creature's hidden life core. Among the 4 super limit-level opponents, it possessed the strongest physical body. Luo Feng next battled the Thunderbolt tentacle creature within the Blood Sea. A massive explosion of lightning tore through the Blood Sea before the sea condensed back into Luo Feng's form. Using the biomimetic destruction eye, Luo Feng discovered that their causal connection had not completely disappeared, although the creature's presence was extremely distant and concealed beneath multiple layers of concealment. A faint thread of causality remained. Luo Feng concluded that it had likely prepared a life-saving method before the battle and escaped through a racial talent ability acquired after reaching super limit level. Since it could no longer be tracked, Luo Feng abandoned the pursuit and left it for future cultivators to handle. Luo Feng then captured the Bird of Destruction. Although it transformed entirely into endless destructive aura, the aura was completely suppressed inside the Blood Sea eye contained within Luo Feng's secret treasure, the Undying Heart, making escape impossible. Luo Feng found the creature remarkable because its body had endured dozens of his claw attacks without collapsing. Rather than killing it immediately, he decided to study its mastery of the destruction path to assist his own cultivation toward the half-primordial level in the life and destruction paths. He temporarily imprisoned the Bird of Destruction inside the Blood Sea eye before beginning his return journey. Of the 5 super limit level enemies involved in the battle for Yulan City, 1 had been killed inside the city, 3 had been defeated outside, and only the Thunderbolt tentacle creature might still be alive. Meanwhile, an ancient ship carrying a cultivator team traveled swiftly through the 9 Rivers Sacred Realm. A winged woman informed her companions that Yuan Shang Palace Master had reported Luo Feng killing the super limit level enchanting heartworm. An elder explained that although their team had never participated in the battle, they would still receive half of the battle merit because the mission target had died within 3 days of accepting the assignment. The young man in red praised Luo Feng for making a critical breakthrough, saving Yulan City, and holding off 4 super limit levels at once. Admitting that Luo Feng had surpassed him, the elder agreed that he himself could only maintain a stalemate against 4 such opponents. The winged woman admired Luo Feng even more because he had become this powerful without ever entering the dark sacred realm. The elder believed that once Luo Feng entered the dark sacred realm and obtained its unique resources, he might reach the invincible level. The young man remarked that every invincible level expert would be accepted by Senior Yuan and the others, while the elder added that those guided at the invincible level often broke free from the braided cage and entered an even higher realm. Although they themselves had mastered 2 half-primordial level paths, they were still not qualified for such guidance. Rather than returning immediately, all 3 decided to visit Yulan City to meet Luo Feng while he was still accessible, hoping to befriend someone with the potential to eventually break free from the braided cage.